for the law enforcement officials. So again, presidents of both parties recognized my my experience and ability before the U.S. Supreme Court. I've been the treasurer. Before that, I was Franklin County's treasurer. I have run a large and small office now, have administrative experience, and have a track record for having put teams together and made good personnel decisions, which is something Mark did not do. And run an office has been tight, under budget, and effective, I think, for the taxpayers of the state. So that's sort of by way of background about it.
Your opponent has had a number of press conferences since the campaign started, talking about different initiatives that he would implement or would like to pursue if elected. What are maybe 2, 3, 4 of your top priorities if you're elected day one in the door?
Sure. And we've had some press conferences too. They don't always get covered. I had a press conference about it. Our initiative on consumer protection for seniors, expanding the Triad program, which exists in a few counties of the state, but does not exist on a statewide basis as it does in Colorado and Virginia, which is matching up senior groups in the community with law enforcement in the community, sort of a virtual block watch program for seniors. My priorities in the office would be, first of all, I think in the wake of what happened there, certainly is continuing to restore the public's trust. I think, again, great strides have been made, but more work needs to be done. I think a big part of that will be continuity in the office. An issue that's arisen from time to time that I think is a phony issue is I'm running for Attorney General unexpectedly, as I said, in 2008. There will be another election for that office in 2010. I've committed to run for Attorney General again in 2010 if I'm elected this year. So I'm committed to spend at least 6 years in that office, which is what I think is necessary to help the office go back on track. And they had 4-year Attorney General in Jim Petro, and he was running for governor by halfway through. You had 18 months from Mark, you have 6 months from Nancy, and they just need continuity there. Secondly, financial security issues are issues I've worked hard on as the state treasurer. There's actually better tools to address them in the Attorney General's office. We've been involved in foreclosure prevention, foreclosure intervention, working on the foreclosure problem that's such a major problem throughout Ohio. We worked on consumer issues with the credit card companies from the Treasury. I've been actively involved, as I think you know, with personal finance education in the high schools, which is now going to be is now a requirement of law, and consumer awareness around the state. The Attorney General has the authority, the unique authority to enforce the consumer protection laws, and I think it's important to stand up to financial predators and on behalf of Ohio families. So I will do that. The third priority that I have laid out is working with local law enforcement. Sometimes Attorney General candidates portray themselves as the top cop or the top sheriff for the state. I don't think that's quite the role the Attorney General should play. I think the Attorney General's role is to be a partner and a helper to local law enforcement, not trying to tell them how to do their jobs, but find ways to help them be effective at doing their jobs. I think because of that approach, which is maybe more collaborative and less hierarchical, every law enforcement organization in the state has endorsed me for Attorney General this year. I'm proud of that. Those will be my priorities. There's a lot of detailed priorities that flow from that, but those are the major areas.
Not to beat a dead horse, but for the benefit of the editors here, can you respond to this whole campaign contribution issue and this complaint that your opponent filed against you?
Sure. This is, typical page from the campaign playbook. When one side's raising money and the other is not, you complain about the money that they're raising. That complaint is based entirely on one newspaper article. The newspaper that ran the article 2 days later endorsed me for Attorney General, said that I was exceptionally qualified and the superior choice for Attorney General. We're confident that the action has no merit, and we will deal with that in front of the Elections Commission as it comes up. There has never been any connection between campaign contributions and business decisions by my office. When I became Franklin County Treasurer, I have a track record on this. The first thing that I did was bid out the county's depository bank contract competitively for the first time in 59 years. As state treasurer, even though many bankers had contributed to my campaign, one of the first things we found ourselves forced to do was to go after all the major banks in the state who hadn't billed the state properly on their accounts going back a number of years. We've so far recovered over $2 million from the banks in the state because of that. You know, we forced the brokers and bond salesmen to compete for our business and to perform. And as a result of that, they have performed. And last year we set an all-time record for this Treasury of making $464 million in investment income for the state. Every dollar of that is a dollar that doesn't have to be raised in taxes for the state. That was $63 million more than the state had ever made before. And on the tobacco proceeds, which we also invested, we have so far thrown off $65 million in excess investment earnings to the General Revenue Fund to help with the budget problem. You know, I have broad support in this race. I've raised a lot of money. You know, I ran for this office 10 years ago and worked hard and didn't raise a lot of money. I think it probably has to do with people knowing me